Welcome, everybody, to another Firehouse Table Talk podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jones, coming to you from the Sober Life Studios, and this show is brought to you by One Brother, One Sister. Let me just give a shout out to One Brother, One Sister and give you a little information. This is a nonprofit program that is designed to bring trainings on trauma, mental health, addictions, alcoholism to first responders. That includes fire, police, and certainly our veterans. We do all of this at no cost to them. We can go into a department and train 20, 25 people at a time to learn how to recognize and what to do when you see somebody who's in a mental health spiral or somebody who's in the throes of addiction, what you can do to help protect them and certainly to protect the department as well. And we do this, again, at no cost to them. We count on your donations. And so I ask that if you've got a moment after the show, watch the show, enjoy it. Go to onebrother1sister.com, or you can make a donation there. Every donation helps. I don't care if you can give $5 or $10. Every dime we get goes towards training another first responder. Folks, they do so much for us on a daily basis. They put themselves in harm's way. They do great community service, which we're going to be talking about today. They do public service. They do all sorts of great things. I think it's time we gave back a little bit. Give them the tools they need so that they can do their jobs and come out on the other side with excellent mental health and without being drawn into addiction and alcoholism and all the other things that could happen to them. So please help us out here at One Brother, One Sister. And once again, you are watching Firehouse Table Talk. And while you're watching it, make sure you hit that like button, hit the button to subscribe, and share this with your friends. And don't forget to leave your comments. Your comments are important to us. With that being said, I got to bring on the man. I've been doing this with, this is Chief Keith Bryer from the Palm Beach Garden Fire and Rescue. He and I have been doing this together for, I think, over 2 years now. Chief, is that right? We've been doing this for 2 years?
It's been about 2 years, but it doesn't seem that long, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And, we pretty much try. We're on for just about every month. Once in a while, we've had a problem. But we get on every month, and we try to bring this information out. And, again, this is Chief Keith Bryer, who is one of those guys that when you think about stand-up guys who represent us in our communities, this is the guy you want in the forefront. This is the guy you want to run our fire and rescue services, because he cares so much, not only about you, but about the people that he's sending out to help you. And Keith, just tell me, how important is it that your firefighters and your fire and rescue workers, everybody in their department, has a great working relationship with the community, and how important is that to you?
Well, I think it's really important. I mean, if you go back to the history of the fire service in general, we've always had a great relationship with our community, right? We're dug in. Our firehouses many times are dug in right in the middle of neighborhoods, right? Kids come to the firehouse all the time. They ride their bikes up. They meet the firefighters. They become part of their lives. So from inception, our profession has always been very tightly woven into our communities, and it's important. It's a tradition that, regardless of how busy we get and how technology does it, it's very important to every fire department that they stay connected with their community.
And it's a source of pride for you, for what you guys, I mean, you certainly, and you will not ever say you did this by yourself, because we know you did it with a lot of help. Built a great system right there in Palm Beach Gardens. You built such a beautiful working mechanism between the fire and rescue and with the board that helps you and everybody in between. You're proud of that. And you want people to see what you're doing, right?
We do. I mean, we've talked about this, right? It's about putting the right people in the right place and keeping that culture going of giving back to the community and staying involved with the community. And we're fortunate, like that has become and has been part of our culture since I started this department 34 years ago. That community service, that reaching out, whether or not that's taking Santa around on a fire truck and driving around to neighborhoods, or being in toy drives, or being involved in that. We've done that. That's part of our culture. And our younger people, as they come on today, continue to do that.
That's great. And speaking of the younger people that came on today, you went into, you dug around and found one of those young people who have been with you for quite a while, actually, when you think about being 31 years old. And and he started back in the Explorer program. So he was like, he's one of those kids that grew up and wanted to be a part of what you guys were doing there. And that's so fantastic. Let's bring him in. This is Lieutenant TJ Hewitt. I assume I said that correctly, right? Hewitt?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. TJ, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Now, I gave you a little intro there just slightly, but I would love to hear how you came into the department, because we're talking about having a presence in the community. Was there a presence in the community that drew you in and said, oh, I think I'll do the Explorers? Or what happened there? Because that was when you were young.
So it's kind of a funny story. My father, it all started kind of with my father. He was a deputy sheriff with Palm Beach County for 33 years. So I originally wanted to be a police officer, follow my dad's footsteps. And then my mom was hired actually here with the city of Palm Beach Gardens. I worked for Palm Beach Gardens Fire Rescue as administrative staff. She got me to do a ride time when I was in my senior year in high school. So once I did that ride time, and the person that was involved with the Explorers, Tommy Thurman at the time, got me involved, and I did a ride time on the engine, and I was sold.
Tell me real quick, just what is a ride time? Because you're saying ride time. Is that like a ride along where you go with them out for a day?
Yeah. So we can do ride times here in the city. Over the age of 18, you have to fill out a form and have to be accepted and vetted by the department to do a ride time. So I got to ride for 8 hours, 10 hours of the day to kind of see the ins and outs of working of a fire station and what a firefighter actually does. So once I got to do that, I was sold.
Was there anything specific that drew you in? Because, like you said, you're thinking about being a police officer or a sheriff or whatever, and then you're riding on this truck. What was it that you think drew you in? Was it the people? Was it the action? What was it?
I think it was the people. I couldn't actually remember what we did that day, but I remember just riding in the back of a fire truck with the lights and sirens. I'm like, this is the coolest thing in the world, right? Everyone wants to be a firefighter. Everyone wants to drive the truck. Everyone wants to ride in the back, honk the horn. Like what little kids, dream of doing. And I'm right now living that dream of a lot of kids. So I think it was the camaraderie and just the way the individuals treated me as a visitor at the station. They just open arms, just super welcoming.
Chief, that's what we talk about all the time is your people. And we mentioned it just before we had TJ come on, that how important that is to have the right people. And the right people isn't just people who can go out and do a great job, but it's people who can support each other and build a community within your department. Isn't that true?
It is true. And that's where we talk about that culture, right? So, we could take somebody that is maybe considering this as a profession, and how cool is that? By the time they get off that truck, they go, this is what I got to do for the rest of my life. That only comes from that crew bringing them under their wing from the very first day and said, you want to do, listen, that's great. We think it's great. We think this is the best job in the whole entire world. Let's show you what we do. And, I tell people all the time, you're going to get off that first ride time, and you're going to either say two things. This is not for me, or, I can't do anything else in my life. This is what I got to do. But a lot of that is encouraged by the crew that's there with them, taking them under their wing and from day one, treating them like, they're part of the team and answering their questions and not making them feel like they're intruding on their territory. And that's how, we attract people.
Absolutely. I gotta ask TJ, is like, that ride along feeling you had and everybody was backing you up and you're feeling good and you got all that. Did you still get teased a little bit as a rookie though? I mean, come on, that still goes on a little bit, right? You have a little fun with that?
Oh, it does. That day, not so much. So anyone like civilian off the street is always welcome arms. We always behave because, the fire service, we always like to joke around and do stuff like that. But when we have someone that's not, right off the street from the public, we're going to treat them with the utmost respect and show them how, the professionalism that we uphold for 24 hours.
Of course. And then you sign up, you become a rookie, and they're going to tease you a little bit. They're going to have some fun.
Of course. That's where
I got to ask, you did one ride, you changed your mind, you decided to make a decision to like the chief said, you either like, this is for me or this is not for me. Has there been any doubt in your mind since that ride that you made the right decision and that you're doing the right thing? I mean, did every step just say, yes, 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 I want to keep going?
It did, yeah. So from that decision on, I haven't regretted anything that I've done. I think it's, I've been fortunate enough to have the career that I've had so far and have many, many more years left to see what is held. But I think it's the best decision I've made so far, besides marrying my wife, of course. But this is the best decision I've ever had.
Dude, I know you tried to save it, but it's much too late. That either comes first or it doesn't come at all.
Yeah.
Chief, he's in trouble on that one. He might need some help on that.
Yeah, you're on your own on this one, by the way.
You got it. I'll be all right.
Wife, always the first best decision. Always.
Oh, yes.
Listen, you after the ride along, is that when you looked at the Explorers and got involved in that?
Exactly. Yeah. So after that ride along, I was introduced in the Explorer program, and that's when I really started to see the fine tuning of like what the fire service is and what they actually do.
Now, how could you describe what the Explorer program is? Is it kind of like the Boy Scouts for firefighting? What is it?
So it's funny you say that. So our Explorer program is actually through the Boy Scouts of America, or the Scouts of America, excuse me. So they have, I call the department like the liaison. So they give us the bunker gear, the instructors, the training grounds, the equipment, and things like that to actually do the training. So all of our legality and insurance and stuff like that's through the Boy Scouts.
Wow. Chief, would this be similar to like an ROTC program in high school for military? Is that a similar kind of feeling to it?
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit different, just the way it's structured, but it's really about taking those kids who think that they might want to do this as a career, much like ROTC would go if I want to follow the military and go through in college and have a military career after that. It's pretty similar. But it really gives those kids that are interested in the fire service a chance to get involved, but not just to come and do a ride time, but actually come out and get bunker gear. And when they turn 18, they can go on calls, and they could, stay at the station, and they could become part of the team. So it kind of is a good recruiting tool for us. I can tell you that, TJ has come from that program, but so have a lot of other of our employees have come directly from that Explorer program, and it's been a great recruitment ground for us. The crews know them, they know us. There's some built-in loyalty there with us, so it's really become a really good recruiting tool for us as well.
Now, TJ, I imagine you've been busy since you've decided after the Explorers, you came right into the department. You had learning to do, you had a lot of things to do, but you still stay connected to it. And even today, you still are connected to that Explorers program. Is that by choice because you want to give back to it, or why stay connected to it right now?
No, it's definitely by choice, because the let me see here, the welcoming that they gave me and the understanding of the fire service, I want to give that to younger kids. So the only thing that I could think of is staying active and continuing with that program. Giving the younger generation the opportunity to understand what the fire service is about before mom and dad spend thousands and thousands of dollars on education and go, wow, this isn't for me. And you have a piece of paper that's going to expire in 4 years. I think it's a great tool, and then we also try to have these younger kids to start, because the youngest age is 14 when you can sign up a freshman in high school. So they're still super young. So we're almost forming them into becoming a young adult. You see them grow up a little bit, and you're trying to make them, be a forward thinker, think ahead, and just, be mature.
Now, try not to be too humble, guys, because I really want to push this through. You guys have worked hard to make this an excellent model for how Explorer programs should run, to the point where you actually have waiting lists sometimes, but that requires work and dedication of the people who have moved on, become firefighters, to go back and give like TJ does. That's really important to give it that level of professionalism that it has. Is that right, Chief?
Absolutely. So, it's because of people like TJ who are willing to give back that keeps that program running. If they stop volunteering their time, that program will no longer exist. And that great recruitment model that we have would go away. So that's one of the things we talk about on the fire service. TJ also serves on our honor guard. So it's kind of interesting. He does stuff to give back to both the department and the community. And he's not an anomaly, right? We see a lot of our firefighters who are doing that same thing, who are grateful for the job and just want to give back. But that that program would cease to exist if we didn't have people like TJ making sure that it was continuing.
So many guests that we've had on, members of your fire rescue service. I can't think of one of them who only does one job. Everyone we've talked to, Chief, that you've brought to us volunteers in some way, in some program, and whether it's peer support or SISM or whatever it might be. TJ, was that what you expected, or did you expect this to be like a job? Because it sounds to me like this is a lifestyle that you have taken on. Is it more than you expected? Better? What do you think?
As in for being active with the Explore program?
Well, just taking on so many things. It's not just like you can go and be a firefighter. You're dedicated to a lot of different programs, a lot of different things. So it's not like a job. It's like a lifestyle that you adopt by being a fire service worker.
A little bit. The saying is once a Marine, always a Marine, right? So kind of take once a firefighter, always a firefighter. Just coming into work, working 24 hours, going home for 2 days, and coming back. That's not always been me. I've always been one to just do a little more. There's no reason just to be that individual that just comes to work and goes home. And yet we need those individuals because everyone can't do it by themselves.
Right.
But being more active, more involved in the department, I just think it's better. Like we, talk about being active in the community, just being involved. People like to see you smile, they want to see your department active in the community and things like that. So being involved with more than just coming to work and going home, I think it's worth it. To answer your question, I think it is a lifestyle. It's not something that I want to do it. It's not like I don't have to do it. I want to do it.
I've got to ask, being young in the department, the chief and I talk a lot about how things have changed, and you're coming in you came in at a good time when there's a lot of great change going on, a lot of help with nutrition and physical exercise and all of that, and it all becomes very part of this. I just got to ask, how is it being, when did you get married?
3 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
Okay. Again, just Chief and I are going to help you out. That's got to be like automatic, brother. That's got to be automatic. If you got to look up in the air to look for the answer, that's okay. So how accepting is her? How is it with her that you're involved in fire service where there is danger? There's times like when you're gone for 24 or more hours at a time and you're and then you do some other side stuff. Is this something, how is she involved in your life in your fire service?
That's a great question. It's something, she's always there for me, regardless of, even without the fire service, she's always, by my side. She's always asking, hey, are you okay? Everything good? I'm always honest with her. And then so far, everything has been good. And we've had our talks, not in a bad way, but I had this call or whatever, and she's always like, I'm always here for you. She's been awesome. She's been nothing but supportive for everything I've done in the department. She knows this department's, number one. This is my life. This is my career that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, as for long as I can do it. And that's a talk we had before we were even married. This is my career and this is what I want to do.
Chief, it's got to be nice to hear the young people coming in and having healthy relationships and sharing that lifestyle with their families and stuff, right?
It really is. And, that has been a shift. That always wasn't the case where we would go home and discuss calls with our spouses, right? When I first came on the department, you didn't go home and discuss calls with your family. You wanted to keep work at work and you wanted to separate that. And what we realized is that, we go home and I'm sure our spouse can tell within 2 minutes of walking in the door, I had a good shift, I had a bad shift. And we don't talk about that. And we were suppressing those feelings down. And over the last, probably 10 or so years, that has really shifted towards, we need to open up communications with our spouses. We need to come home and say, I had a rough night, bad call, give me a little bit of time. I just, need to be by myself, or I need to go do this, or I need to just decompress a little bit to kind of help us through those situations. So that has been a huge shift. What you're hearing TJ saying, that was a conversation that he had with his wife prior to even getting married about the job and the difficulties of that job. And, we've said it and we've talked about it a lot. This job, you will see horrific things, right? And not only will you see them once or twice, you will see them sometimes on a daily basis when you come to work, and that accumulates over time. And it's very important that we have these outlets and be able to communicate with our spouses when we're having difficulty, not suppressing it down. So that's one of the really cool changes that we've seen in the fire service, where those conversations are being had where they weren't had years ago when I came on the fire service.
Yeah, it was a different animal years ago. I mean, we take it back far enough, and it doesn't have to go back that far, actually, to everything was you get off your shift, you go to the bar, you drink until you're okay with everything, then you go home, but you never discuss anything.
Right.
And thank God we're moving away from that. TJ, being part of the young guns and the new, and I can't even say you're that young. I mean, you're 31, and you got married, you got responsibilities. You're doing a great job there. You're a lieutenant. But when you hear people describe the old days and you look at the new days, do you see people around you really dedicated to their own well-being, their mental health, their physical health? Is there a shift here? Are we seeing this a lot where you're working?
Oh, for sure. Just in the short career that I've had, the 10 years I've been here, it's definitely changed for the better. Because when you look at the statistics and the suicide rates and stuff like that, it goes up and up and up. And I think people have kind of accepted to where this is a dangerous job, not only, in the line of duty, but yet just running a bad call, seeing things that the average person will never, ever see in their life. And you can see that multiple times in your career. So being able to be open with your coworkers and talk and be like, hey, is everyone okay? Everyone feel all right? If not, let's get help. I'm here for you. So the shift in a 10-year span, it's been phenomenal. We have our health and wellness committee. We have we had I think we still do. We have a physical therapist, I want to say, on standby, to where open line of contact, where, you can call, email, and then she'll answer as quick as she can. So the department's done a great job by putting things in place to where they're not just looking out for the public, they're also looking out for their people that work for them.
Chief, that's got to feel good to hear.
Absolutely. It's, you're talking about a young lieutenant who is kind of dialed in so much that if his crew goes on a bad call at 2 a.m, rather than just allowing everybody to go back to the dorms, taking a few minutes out, sitting them down at the table and go, you know what, that call sucked. And let's talk about that call a little bit. And let's talk about how we might feel over the next couple of days. And what, sometimes it's okay not to feel okay, but if it continues, let's talk about options, what we could do. We have a chaplain, we have a peer team, and we have vetted mental health care providers that they could reach out to and to be able to talk. But it's starting that conversation and it's getting that moving forward. Where years ago that just didn't happen.
Let's get back onto the public service and the community things that you do. You guys at the departments are always getting involved in things. I know you're always involved in toy drives and things like that during the holidays, and you're always involved in different things. TJ, what's your favorite part about dealing with the community as a fire and rescue worker?
Oh man, that's kind of a hard question. The whole our whole job is community service. If you think about it,
that's true.
So someone's having their worst day of their life, they call 911. You're a complete stranger, and you're there to give them a service to where just seeing you show up makes them feel better. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what the favorite part of community service is. But if I had to, I'd probably say just interacting with young kids at school. Seeing them like, oh my gosh, this is the best day of school ever. The fire truck's here, right? The lights are on, and they get to see people in bunker gear, and they get to see the tools and stuff like that. That's kind of rewarding because they look up to you. You know what I mean? They always, like they have their superheroes in their shoulders and the Barbie dolls and stuff like that. And some kids have like, oh, well, I want to be a firefighter at the age of 5, and they see one at school. They think that's the coolest thing in the world.
Well, I would imagine sometimes seeing those kids, even though you were like 18 when you did the ride along and you made a decision. But it must bring you back to that moment of, wow, I really love this. When you see it in their eyes, it must really be rewarding, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. And even with the Explorer program, some of the explorers that started young went through the Explorer program, like Chief said earlier. I now work with them, being on the rescue with them. They're now my coworker. We're on the truck together running calls. So kind of guiding them through their young adulthood, and now we're working together. I think that's pretty rewarding. It's in itself as well.
Now, both of you, actually, you mentioned TJ and Chief. You said before the show started off camera that you guys are still doing a lot of school programs and things like that. I would imagine everybody knows what to do and stuff, but is there a specific part of the department that you would contact if you wanted something for a school or you wanted to talk about maybe events that are going on? Who would they contact, Chief?
So we have a community education specialist that is solely dedicated to doing community education. And that's everything from hands-only CPR to stop the bleed, to stop, drop, and roll, to fall prevention, bike safety, home escape plans for fires in the home. We're out in the schools a lot during the month of October. That's Fire Prevention Month, and there's a Fire Prevention Week, but we're out in the schools a lot. And that is based on fire safety, prevention of fires, cooking, talking about playing a mattress, electrical fires, and then having an escape plan for your house. So that falls under our community risk reduction, but we specifically have a community education specialist who's out in the schools and doing these programs.
Wow. And I do remember as a child crawling all over a fire truck, in the school parking lot, and just thought it was the neatest thing in the world. And all of these people just seemed, I'm going to tell you honestly, they seemed so awesome and so heroic. They were almost unapproachable. TJ, we don't ever want to have that feeling that you guys are unapproachable by people. You want to talk to people if they have questions, right?
Oh, for sure. And that's why I think our community involvement during fire prevention during October is we go to these schools. The crews get dressed in their bunker gear. They put their air pack on. They go on air. They crawl around. They get close and like kind of personal with the kids, going, hey, if you hear me and you're hiding and you see me, don't be scared. I'm here to help you. So giving that sense of comfort to the kids is huge as well.
Wow. Well, Chief, you and I had talked before about recruitment and that the numbers aren't as high as they used to be. Is that shifting back now, or where are we at with that? Are we still looking for good people who want to join fire service, Chief?
We are. I think across the nation, we've seen a decrease in the numbers of people that are going to EMT and fire school. And I'm not sure why that is. I think if you looked at, if you were somebody that's brand new and you wanted to look up firefighting as a profession, what you would see is, we're at a higher risk for cancer. We're at a higher risk of dying of those cancers. We have a high suicide rate, PTSD and trauma and all the other substance abuse. And I want to say that is not the majority of the people that are in the fire service, although it's not acceptable for any personnel in the fire service to be afflicted with any one of those things, right? None of it's. We're looking for zero. But when they look at that, those are some of the things that they see. This is a very dangerous profession, right? And the way that we can protect our people is through training and constant training and equipment and giving them the tools and education and training that they need to be safe. But there is a national shortage of people that are willing to sign up for the fire service. And because of that, what we've done is we have to come up with new ways to recruit and retain good people. We just had a contract signed last night, a new 3-year collective bargaining agreement with our local. And in that, over the next 3 years, firefighters get a 24% raise, and their work schedule is going from 24/48 to where they work 24 hours on. They were off for 48 hours, and then every 3 weeks they have 5 days off in a row, to a 24/72 in which they work one every 4 days, right? So that is a way to make sure that we're recruiting good quality people. For us, we want to recruit the best of the best, and we have to remain competitive in order to do that. So, the city had the foresight to go ahead and do a really good contract. That helps with attracting good people, but that pool is drying up over time. And people are going to have to become more creative on how we get, because we certainly don't want to be a national shortage of firefighters. We're going to be in trouble if that happens.
Absolutely. And TJ, that must all be good news to you to hear that they're, making things better and improving things. That's great. TJ, I'm going to ask you only because you're out there every day and you're working with, there are so many different jobs as well. I think everybody thinks everybody jumps on a truck and goes and fights fires. And that's the only thing anybody does. There's a lot of other things, from office to dispatch to this to that. There's a lot of moving pieces, aren't there? And a lot of people that you don't see out on the streets working in the fire department, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. How many people are behind the scenes that make a fire department run is unbelievable. Just in our department alone, we have our administrative staff that take care of administrative things, what they need to get done. You have logistics center that gets supplies. You have a fleet that takes care of our vehicles. You have public works that takes care of our stations. And you have all these individuals. It takes a huge amount of people just to support the fire service so we can run smoothly and be proficient. It's not just the people in the crews and a few chiefs up front, and administration. It's way more than that. It's not, it takes a lot of people, a lot of work.
And Chief, I bring that up just because I don't want people being dissuaded because of one part of the job. There might be other things that you can do if you want to be a part of the fire rescue family, right, Chief?
Absolutely. I always tell people, if that 24-hour shift and being a firefighter isn't something to you, but you really want to get involved, we push them to go into community risk reduction, right? Fire inspection practices, right? To where they're involved in the very beginning, from the plan review to make sure that any building that's built has the necessary proper working fire prevention equipment, whether it be sprinkler systems or fire alarms or those things, and to going out in the businesses and keeping businesses safe as far as making sure that they have, working smoke detectors and fire alarms to be able to keep that. So there's still a way. And, in a lot of ways, they are the first chain in this link to keep people safe, right? The more safe those buildings are, the more safe our firefighters are, and the more safe the public is. So they are a very important part of fire safety, and there is a way to do that. And that is a competitive career with good salary and good pay and good benefits. So we tell people all the time, look, if that's not for you, that's fine. But if you really want to do something like this and give back, take a look at that. Big part of it.
I love that. TJ, you said it great. For every one person you see, there's a bunch of people behind them in the background doing so many different jobs. And some of them are with the Department of Public Works, and some are here and some are there. But it's all working together and coming together. And the fact that we have people like Chief Bryer, and Chief, I know you hate when I do it, but I'm going to put you on the spot. The fact that you have people like Chief Bryer who care so much and don't accept things that don't work. You're constantly working for your people. That's why you've developed, I believe, one of the best fire and rescue services in the nation, right there in Palm Beach Gardens. Every person I've ever met there, every person I've ever talked to, have a dedication that is just amazing to me, including our young friend now, Lieutenant Hewitt here. And Lieutenant, you're going to have a very long career and a very wonderful career. I have no doubt. Just make sure you put your wife first on those other things, and then you'll be able to live a life on the outside too very well. I say that from experience in many divorces. I do have to ask, because you know what? We started this show with TJ telling us that your father was a sheriff or worked in the sheriff, and your mother went to work for fire and rescue. So, are they still happy with you?
Oh,
is
for sure.
One of them happy? Is your father mad that you followed your mother? What is the deal?
Not at all. And my dad kind of pushed me out of being a police officer, because when he started now it's been, I don't want to say, but when he started his career, when he retired, it was different. It was police officers, I don't want to get down on a tangent here, but police officers are respected. You know what I mean? They're always like, yes, sir, no, ma'am, kind of deal. But when I was choosing what profession I wanted to do, he's like, it's not the same anymore. You're on the streets by yourself. You're in a car for 11 and a half, 12 hours by yourself, except when you run calls. And I was okay. I was okay with that, but he says it's not the same. People don't, and respect's kind of a thing because they're putting their life on the line to save anyone, complete stranger that they don't even know. The same thing we do as a fire service, but it just was, he says it was just different, and we had our talks, and he goes, what happens when someone sees a police officer? Oh, the cops are here. What do we do? I'm in trouble. What happens when people see a fireman? They love us. Oh, hey, well, how's it going? How's everything? You guys okay? Can I get you anything? You guys are awesome. But yeah, no, both of them are super happy with the career path that I chose, and they're super proud.
And as a community member, I want to thank your family for all being of service to all of us like this in your different ways. That's incredible, and we appreciate you, TJ. We appreciate the work that you do and everything else. And before we log off, Chief, you made a mention that October is Fire Prevention Month. And here we are. This is going to be airing right before October starts. So let's just give a 5-minute tip here. What is the biggest thing that people do that could be preventative, or that could be prevented? What is the biggest mistake that people make that could be prevented in fire prevention?
So there's a couple. When we see residential home fires, we see typically cooking, smoking, where somebody falls asleep smoking, electrical, where they take sockets and they overload those electrical sockets. But more importantly, I think, it's very important. All those things could be corrected. I can't tell you how important it is to have working smoke alarms in your house, right? Because if something happens, you're going to be notified. You can get your family out of the house quick enough before you can't get out of that house. So, it's okay to teach kids about, we encourage people, teach them about cooking and not overloading circuits. And if you're a smoker, being careful where you smoke and how you put out your cigarettes. Candles is another big one, right? People light candles, they'll fall asleep. We see space heaters, strangely enough, even in Florida during the winter, that are not properly, kept that combustibles away from that space heater. But more importantly, I cannot stress how important it is. Two things. Number one, to have working smoke alarms and check and make sure they're working. And number two is that everybody in your house should have 2 ways out, an escape plan. Parents, that's up to you to sit down with your kids and talk about if you're sleeping in the middle of the night and that alarm goes off. Let's talk about keeping those doors closed, checking those doors for heat. And if you can get safely out of the house, go to a designated area in the house. That is very, very important. So during Fire Prevention Week, we encourage parents to take their kids through it. Let's talk about that. And actually have them work it. You're in bed, you're sleeping, they go hit the smoke alarm. Okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to feel the door first. And if the door is hot, we're not going to open it. We're going to stuff, towels or sheets or anything that we can underneath the door. We're going to open up our window to the bedroom. We're going to throw something out, maybe a teddy bear or a pillow. So when we're doing the search of the house, we see it. We know that somebody's in that room up above. So we're going to focus our efforts on getting them out of the house quickly. But that is a parent's responsibility. And I don't know that it's quite done in this country as often as it should be done. But especially with young kids, it's really important to get them through that and train.
I think, I will agree with you. I don't think it's done nearly as much as it should be done. Not even close. I don't believe many families do work a rescue plan. They got people living on third floors without any kind of a rope ladder or one of those ladders. Rescue ladders could be stored very easily, and they're very inexpensive, and throw it out a window and it saves the life to get down. There's so many different things people could do, but I think everybody is kind of in that mode that, hey, if there's a fire, I'll wake up and I'll know what to do. But you don't always, the fire doesn't always wake you up, because the smoke could choke you out before you even wake up. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. Most people that die in a residential fire don't die it's due to the carbon monoxide poisoning. It's not due to the fire itself. So long before that fire kind of burns through, they've already passed away just because of the carbon monoxide that they've been exposed to. So that's why those smoke alarms are so important, is that early detection.
TJ, I got to ask, when you joined the fire service, was some of that stuff to you surprising that there's so many people just not doing basic fire safety?
A little bit. Growing up, my mom and dad, we had an escape plan. Hey, if anything ever happens at the house, you go out to the street and meet by the mailbox. You go out your window if your door was hot, or if there was smoke, you go out your window, you go around the house, and we'll meet you at the mailbox. So to see the public not really doing it as much as they should, I think that's a huge risk and a kind of a disservice to themselves. Some of the saying is people think they're going to rise to the occasion when actions need to happen or actions need to take place, but really you're going to sink to your lowest level of training. So if you don't have anything in place, you're going to panic and something's terrible could possibly happen. Absolutely.
Without practice, you're going to just open that door before you feel it for heat. You're going to do things like that. And it's crazy. And as we always say, especially now with hurricane season, if you decide to put yourself at risk, you're not just putting yourself at risk, you're putting a rescue worker at risk too. Because they're not going to stop and say, well, you should have left. I'm not going. They're going to go in there and try to help you. So just please take care of yourselves. Listen during hurricane season and certainly Fire Safety Month in October. Take that time to go through the rules with your family, go through some practice sessions, check your smoke alarms. If your smoke alarms look like they were built with the house in the 1920s, get some new ones. They're not expensive. And it's a simple way to save a life, a simple thing. And the big thing, and Chief, you brought it up before and you bring it up a couple times, stop walking away from cooking food. Stop it. Stop putting something on the stove and saying, I'm just going to let it go for a while and go sit in the other room and fall asleep. Don't do it. It's just a good thing. Anything else you want to add, Chief?
We talked about hurricanes a little bit and evacuation. And, one of the things we want to make clear is that when winds get over 50 miles an hour, we do not send crews out any longer, right? It's too dangerous for the crews. But on a bad storm, we might not be able to get to everybody for maybe 72 hours till after that storm has passed, right? We're flooded with calls. We have to prioritize those calls. It is always best and safe for people to just go ahead and evacuate, go to an area that's safe, and then when you can come back. And I know we get this every hurricane, and when we've had Jeannie and Francis and those things that weren't really, they were, hurricanes, but they weren't Cat 5s. I've been down to Andrew and seen what a Cat 5 storm could do. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be in you don't even want to be in a Cat 3. It is just better to go ahead and evacuate and understand that, we are going to be so backlogged that it might be 72 hours that you're going to have to fend for yourself. Don't put yourself in that situation. When you have the opportunity, go early, evacuate yourself. It'll be way safer for you, for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? If it turns out to be wrong, if it turns out the storm dies out or it's not as strong as it can be, you just return home faster. But at least give yourself the opportunity. Don't wait until you got a 4 or a 5 screaming down your back and you've got no place to go then.
Absolutely.
If you wait too long. That's another part of you're going to rehearse, this is what we take. Make sure you have like supplies. Make sure you have things like that. Even during this season when you don't have to leave your house, we get a lot of power outages just because of storms and stuff like that. Always be prepared and take care of your family, people. You got these great people. We've got Lieutenant Hewitt. We've got Chief Bryer who dedicate their lives to helping people. Let's meet them halfway and maybe help ourselves a little bit and do the right thing once in a while. They're not here so that we can live recklessly. They're there so that we can live to the best of our abilities, do the right things. And in those cases, when stuff goes wrong, they're going to be there to back you up. And we appreciate you guys for that. We really do. We really do. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for the show today. You guys, again, your dedication and the work that you do. There should be no end of gratitude from your community for everything you guys provide, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Listen, Scott, I did want to say at the beginning of the show, you mentioned the programs that One Brother and One Sister have for fire departments. I want to encourage every fire department. The training is great. We've had it here. Our people have been through it. I know you just recently did something for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. This is free. The training is excellent. Every fire department should be taking advantage of those services that you and Karen have to offer. Thanks for all you do in keeping, firefighters safe and healthy mentally. But really, anybody that has not contacted you to have this training should really reach out. They will not be disappointed. So, again, thanks to you and Karen for everything you do for the fire service.
Chief, thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate the friendship we have with you and all of the members at Palm Beach Gardens Fire and Rescue. We appreciate meeting new people like Lieutenant Hewitt. The job you guys do, and it is our honor. It is our honor to bring anything we can to you to help you do your jobs better. But more importantly, as you always say, to leave healthier than when you walked in the door. To leave and retire healthy, as opposed to just being beat up and beat down. We don't want that for you guys. You deserve so much better. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. This has been Firehouse Table Talk with Chief Keith Bryer and Lieutenant TJ Hewitt from Palm Beach Garden Fire and Rescue as our guest on the show. Please remember to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Beyond that, everyone out there, take care of each other. Pay attention to Fire Prevention Month. Do something different. Check your fire detectors. Do all of those things. And we'll catch you next time on the show. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye, everybody.